What car do you drive? Funny you ask that. If for some reason you missed it, I made a video announcing that I started a new channel. It is a channel about cars because I like cars, and if you like cars, you should probably go and subscribe. The channel is called Car Problems. The first video is already live. I'm in fact going to leave a little pop-up in the corner of the screen so you can go and watch it. And if you like what you see, please subscribe, follow along. There will be more videos coming soon. And the content on that channel will not affect this one in any way at all, other than this little section where I'm explaining that I have. Welcome back to another SR4U Q A, your weird and or interesting football boot related questions and my answers to them, all pulled from my Instagram, which is SR4U_Josh. You see it on screen right now. If you have a boot related question that you'd like me to potentially answer in an upcoming Q&A video, make sure you follow me there because, like I said, that's where all the questions come from. If you guys enjoy the Q&A series and want to see it continue, please support this video with a like. And with that said, let's get right into the questions. Hey, James Rodriguez. Yes, I know I'm saying that wrong. Calm down. It's my Q&A, not yours. Do you even lift, bro? How much can you bench/squat? I do lift, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. And I guess knowing what I know now, looking back at my teenage years and even my years as a young adult, my early 20s, I'm 26 years old now for those that don't know, I really regret not getting into doing even just a little bit of lifting far sooner than I did, because I was already a pretty good athlete, and I think a lot of teenagers are pretty good athletes naturally, but I think doing a little bit of lifting, not only to get stronger, but more so to just learn your body and what it's capable of, is something that really would have helped me at the time. And not that I can say that I seriously ever pursued a career as a professional soccer player or footballer, but I do seriously think that if I had integrated just a little bit of lifting into my training back then, I probably could have gone a little bit farther, and I definitely believe that I would have been a better player. So if you're 14, 15, 16 years old and you're maybe thinking about getting into lifting a little bit, I would strongly recommend doing it. My best advice is to just start. Take things slow. It's definitely a learning process. You'll definitely make mistakes, but even in just a short amount of time, you will definitely make some significant progress as an athlete. Trust me when I say that. Now, to answer your question that I don't really want to answer, what do I bench and what do I squat? My bench has not been good for a very long time, and recently I've been working at it. The best bench press I've ever done, just for one rep, so I guess a max, would be 295 pounds, which I don't think is that great. And as far as a squat is concerned, the most I've ever squatted, the most I've ever tried to squat, I think I can maybe do a little bit more, but I'm slightly afraid to do it because I don't want to break my knees or something like that, is 405 pounds. Hey Jar Jar Bunks, what's with the high turnover in football boot models these days? If you watch the Boot Nerds podcast that I do with J Mike from Unisport, this is something that we've touched on a couple different times. I think we even made a whole episode talking about this particular subject. And I think what it really comes down to is social media has completely changed the way that brands can put their products in your face. Back when I was a kid, you would see the top end boots and the latest boots being worn by the pros when you watch the game on TV. If you were lucky enough to go see them in person, you could see it there. But in general, you didn't see the boots unless you went to a soccer store, because internet was not a thing at that point, or online stores weren't really a thing. You could also go and buy a magazine and see the ads in the magazines, but that was pretty much it. Now with Instagram and all different kinds of social media, you're seeing these new boots as they come out every single day, multiple times a day. So I think with that kind of constant in-your-face marketing that these brands have access to, people get used to new products much more quickly than they did before. So even after 1 month, you've seen that shoe 1,000 times, and in your head, psychologically, if that makes any sense at all, it's now old. Even though it's only a month old, it's being perceived to you as old. So brands, I think, feel this need to constantly be showing you something new to maintain your interest and hopefully sell you a new product. So ultimately, I think it comes down to social media. That's why so many boots are coming out so quickly these days. And basically, stuff is old after a month. Hi, Jesus Christ. Do SR4U laces make my shots more powerful? 100% yes, and here's a test to prove it. If you could take any upper on any boot and merge it with any sole plate to make one boot, which one would you choose? I really like this question and I have a couple different ideas, so I'm going to name all of those and then I'm going to finish it with what my kind of ideal Frankenstein football boot would be, which is kind of a weird combination. The upper from the Adidas Predator 19.1 and the sole plate from the Adidas Predator Adipower. The upper from the Adidas Copa 20 Plus and the Speedframe sole plate from the Adidas X 19.1. The upper from the Nike Tiempo Legend 5 and the sole plate from the Nike Phantom Venom. The upper from the Nike Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite and the sole plate from either the Superfly 1, the carbon fiber one, or the glass fiber sole plate from the Nike Mercurial Vapor 8. And then my ideal really weird mashup of a boot that I would personally love to try out is the upper of the Nike T90 Laser 3 with the kangaroo leather and the sole plate from the current Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite, the split sole, the anatomic sole plate, and the super aggressive stud pattern. That would be quite a combination. Honestly, there's a million combinations. Those are just a couple that I thought of off the top of my head, but I'm really curious to hear which combinations you guys would make down below in the comments. Are boots overpriced and why are they so much? This is a really good question that has a simple but also complex answer at the same time. I think a lot of people, when they see a $250 or a $300 retail price, they automatically assume that the boot is very expensive to actually manufacture, to make the boots, the materials that it's made out of, and that's typically not the case. That's actually, I would say, most likely, especially for really big brands, the cheapest part of making not just a brand new boot, but a brand new product. The expense comes into the actual development of that product, making these proprietary technologies that all of these big brands have. That is expensive to produce or expensive to buy from somebody else, which a lot of them are doing as well. What I'll also say is they spend a lot of money on marketing. So when you see Cristiano Ronaldo wearing the Nike Mercurial, he's not doing that for free. That costs Nike money, and that's another expense that goes into what the final price of the boot is. So what the actual cost for the brand is, it's very difficult to determine, but ultimately what the final price ends up being is where the simple part comes in. It comes down to market value. If Nike feels like people are willing to pay $250 for the newest Vapor, they're going to charge $250. If they think they can get $400 for the newest Vapor, which they did at one point in time, the Nike Mercurial Superfly 2 had a $400 retail price, that's what they'll sell it for. And maybe this sounds crazy to say, but at least partially, we as consumers are responsible for the price tags of these top-end boots being as high as they are, because when they put out a product for $250 and there are thousands of people willing to buy that product the second that it comes out, that tells a brand like Nike or Adidas or whoever it might be that, hey, people are willing to pay this much, therefore we should charge $250, maybe even a little bit more. So if you don't like the high prices, my best advice is don't buy the boots. And if you don't buy the boots, the product doesn't sell, then big brands will be more likely to lower their prices in the future. My cleats smell so bad and I froze them and put shoe balls in them and they won't smell. Peter, any advice? Have you considered fire? More seriously, there's a few variables to this situation, and it's also worth noting that everyone's going to be a little bit different. Personally, my boots have never really smelled that bad, but I have played with certain people where their boots smell terrible and you feel like you're going to die if you get too close. It sounds like you might be one of those people. I'm not judging you or anything like that, but typically when your boots smell really bad, it's over the course of a period of time where you're constantly using the boots. And typically, based on what I've seen, people who have really smelly boots aren't letting them dry out properly. So what I would strongly recommend is after every single use, you untie the boots, you take them out of your bag, you open them up as much as possible, you leave them in an open environment, probably not in direct sunlight, that's not a great idea, but you allow them to dry out. And having them dry, not having the moisture within the material and the liner and the boots in general, will typically cut down the smell quite significantly. Now, it sounds like you're trying different products to help with kind of deodorizing the boots. I've personally never tried too many different things. There's a bunch of stuff out there. I couldn't really tell you what's good and what isn't. But in general, if your boots really smell, it's a moisture issue. You could also just try cleaning them with some soap and water. Probably wouldn't put them in the washing machine, but just simple soap and water should do the job. Hey Jar Jar, how many boots do you buy per season, or do you buy a boot for each ground you play on? So I'm going to answer this question from two perspectives, one as a kid and one as an adult. Now, when you're a kid, you're kind of at the mercy of your parents, because I think it's safe to assume that most kids have their boots purchased for them by their parents. Some parents obviously are more into the football boot thing than others. Other parents are very stingy and they only want to buy the cheapest thing possible. So that situation is something that you kind of have to work around yourself. If you can save any money as a child, whether it's like birthday or Christmas money or doing chores or whatever way that you can try to save a couple of bucks, then yeah, invest in some football boots if that's something that you're interested in. But for the most part, when you're a kid, you get what you get. As an adult, if you have a job and you want to buy football boots for different situations, I personally think it's well worth the investment if it's something that you really enjoy. As an example, if I was playing a single season and I knew that I would be playing on natural grass and artificial grass, I would personally make it a priority to have 2 pairs of boots, one for AG, one for FG with the appropriate stud patterns. And I think that's the best course of action, not only from a safety perspective, because I really do think it's important to wear the right stud pattern on the right surface for the safety of your own joints. I would hate to suffer an injury based on just wearing the wrong stud pattern, which does happen more often than you'd think. So if you're an adult working a job, given the amount of sales that are out there online these days, I think it's perfectly reasonable to have a relatively conservative budget and still manage to have several different pairs of boots to use throughout the season. And I've always said this, if you have a couple different boots to rotate through, that's going to make all of them last longer rather than just buying one single pair and beating on them every single time you play. They're just not going to last that long because they're taking a lot of abuse. If you can spread that abuse across several pairs, it's better for all of the boots. That was a weird explanation. Hey Jaquavis, what is your favorite indoor shoe ever? I actually think I might have answered this question before, but it was a long time ago, and I probably said the Nike Lunar Gato 2, which is probably one of my personal favorite indoor boots ever, but I don't think that it's the best indoor ever that I've worn, simply based on the fact that I don't think it's a very durable boot, and the traction that it provides is not the greatest. But it is cool that Nike is remaking them and you can buy them again after so many years of them not being available. But if I had to pick my favorite kind of current go-to indoor right now, when I play indoor, which honestly is not that often just because I'm not a huge fan of playing on indoor courts, it's just very hard on your knees and ankles, and I just don't like it. It's the Copa Indoor from Adidas. I think that is a very underrated product. Yes, it's a little bit bulky, but for the price, getting a full kangaroo leather indoor boot with decent underfoot cushioning and actually pretty good traction even on dustier courts, I just think that's a great pair of indoors and typically my go-to. Anyways, guys, that's it for another SR4U Q A. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you have a question that you'd like me to potentially answer in an upcoming Q&A episode, go follow me on Instagram, SR4U_Josh. That will also be linked down below in the description. If you have any questions regarding anything discussed in this video, feel free to ask it down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. All my other social media information is also linked down below. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.